All right, so today is a big day. It's the release of the movie that Miyazaki came out of retirement for, the latest Studio Ghibli release, The Boy and the Heron. And a lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people are loving it. There's a lot of hype around it. But for me, at least, it's like, meh. So The Boy and the Heron is the story of this young boy in the middle of World War II. And he lives in Tokyo, but he loses his mom. So him and his father move out of Tokyo to this kind of large estate in the countryside. And there's this big kind of abandoned castle, and there's a heron that is kind of luring him into this castle. And so it's kind of about this boy who's trying to deal with accepting the loss of his mom during such a traumatic point in the world, and also reconciling what his new life is kind of going to be like. But to me, I think that for the first half of the movie, it was just really, really one note, really repetitive. I kind of wasn't super interested in anything that was happening. And then by the time he gets kind of into the traditional Studio Ghibli fantasy world, which I'm not saying that's where the good movie, I'm not saying that's where the good part of every Studio Ghibli film starts. I think there are several good ones where there is no fantasy world. I really like The Wind Rises. But the outside world was just so boring that I was just kind of waiting for him to get to the fantasy world. And then he finally got there, and I was still just kind of bored. There was really no point in this whole film that I felt like kind of sucked into it. I was always pretty aware that I was just looking at a screen. And a lot of time I was just trying to guess like how much time would pass so we could kind of go. I thought that as far as even character designs and the world and things like that, I thought all of those things had been done better in other Studio Ghibli films. There was really nothing about this that stood out to me or that I found particularly interesting. And I think that since they spend so much time waiting to get to that fantasy world, by the time they get there, everything just feels so rushed. And they kind of have some good ideas towards the end, but they have so little time to let those moments kind of breathe and be their own thing that they just kind of, it's like boom, 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 and then you're done with it. And these big moments that are really critical to the story and thematically, they just don't really seem like they matter. They seem like they're kind of shoehorned in. None of it really makes sense or has any weight to it. And then it's just kind of over to me. In addition to that, I felt the characters were really shallow as well. And I felt like their motivations really never made sense. Like while we're rushing through the story, they just have to make decisions. And it's never really clear why would they make that decision. And at the end, they're talking about like friends, and I'm like, when did they even have time to become friends? Like it feels like very sudden swaps in relationships and characters doing things that just don't make any sense to me. And I know I'm in the minority here. I know a lot of people love this. And honestly, maybe it's me. I'm not the biggest fan of Studio Ghibli. I do like some of them. I don't like some others. So, I'm sure Studio Ghibli fans are going to love this, but at least for me and maybe some other people who are just kind of more like, yeah, Ghibli movies are fun things to watch. It just didn't really work for me. But anyway, this is a movie that I think if you want to see it, you're going to see it regardless of what anybody else says. And I am just one person who's kind of dunking on a movie that's at 97% on Rotten Tomatoes at the time of this recording. So yeah, those are my thoughts. And like I said, I seem to be in the minority. Everybody else seems to be loving this movie, so maybe you will too. And if you did, let me know in the comments. If you're on my side, honestly, definitely let me know in the comments. I feel kind of crazy, like I'm the only person that just kind of watched this and didn't feel any type of way towards it. I didn't feel positively, I didn't feel negatively, I just kind of felt neutral. But if you liked what you saw, like and subscribe.